It's on Danielle's Instagram page. This is Grenache Day today. And then invite Andy to join. Perfect.
Hi.
Okay, so we have Nicole now. Good evening, Nicole. How are you?
Nice to see you. Hey, Andy.
Hello.
Nice to see you.
Hello, Nicole. Hello,
Good afternoon, Andy.
How are you?
Okay. Good, and you? How's everyone?
Great.
Good.
Ready to go.
Okay,
Very
so
excited. International
welcome.
Grenache Day. Hurrah, hurrah. Yay, Grenache.
It is International Grenache Day,
That means
Nicole,
I gotta
today.
grab a bottle of Grenache. I will be right back.
That's my Grenache now. I'm waiting.
Everyone, to grab your glass, grab your bottle.
grab two?
In the meantime, I'll introduce. You can grab two, red and rosé. Great, great pick, Andy. So before we go, I'll introduce both people now. So we have first Nicole Rolet, so winery principal at Chêne Bleu, whose bottle and glass you will be showing you later, and also most importantly today, co-founder and chairman of the Grenache Association. So kind of a Grenache queen, then I may say. And then you have on the other side you have Andy Abramson, who will be your North American ambassador for the Grenache Association. He called himself also like accidental winemaker, and also inductee into the Chevalier de la Commanderie. So another Grenache, I would say, aficionado.
And I see, Alban, that Marlène
So welcome.
is on. Marlène Angelos is actually the director of the International Grenache Association. Hi, Marlène.
Thank you, Marlène, for joining. Thank you. I hope you'll enjoy what Nicole and Andy will have to say about that varietal. So a few words now that I've introduced everyone. For the viewer that don't know, I have a few questions here. Can you tell me, Nicole, what are some of the hallmark characteristics of that varietal?
Well, I think it's so popular because it's considered one of the friendliest grapes. What I mean by that is you have some alpha grapes like Syrah or Cabernet, which are fabulous, can make fabulous wines, but they can also be a little bit harsh sometimes. And if you're not really accustomed to all those tannins, it's very nice to start with some great Grenache, because even though Grenache can be very sophisticated and have a lot of complexity, it's a real team player grape. It's the ultimate Mediterranean grape. It grows where olives grow. It loves the sun. It goes really well with all that Mediterranean food. And also it has this fantastic characteristic for sustainability that's the ultimate eco-friendly grape. So it has great root system that makes it more able to withstand some extreme weather, of which we've just had quite a bit in the last 48 hours. I'm sure you've heard, you follow the Rhone a lot, and we've had hail and all sorts of crazy stuff going on around here. And we're happy that we have these big, thick roots. So it's a very, very versatile and wonderful grape to work with.
So, and also a team player, as I see in the comment, goes very well also with in blend as well sometimes. But let's focus on Grenache again today. So Andy, can you tell us, as the North American ambassador for the association, what's the Grenache Association and how are you involved in it?
The Grenache Association, which came out of the Grenache Symposium, Nicole and Walter McKinley and the late Stephen Spurrier all organized in 2010.
Stephen, wherever you are.
He's looking
you, Stephen.
over all the vineyards.
We miss you.
We all miss Stephen Spurrier. What a gentleman, and truly a mover and shaker and creator of so many great things out of Paris from his days at Les Sancerre, and then what he did with obviously the Judgment of Paris. So we all miss him, and what a class act he was. But the Grenache Association, Alban, came out of the Grenache Symposium that Nicole hosted along with others at Chêne Bleu, La Verrière in 2010. One of the first things that was decided was we need to hold a day that will benefit the Grenache producers and the Grenache growers all over the world. So we created International Grenache Day to be the third Friday of every September. Now, obviously in Australia, that means it probably starts on our Thursday here on the West Coast, but they've been celebrating already and partying hardy. Every year, hundreds and thousands of participants enjoy Grenache the world over. They do this with a party at the winery, opening up bottles in wine bars, special menus at restaurants, special tastings, even people doing things at home. And that's what makes Grenache Day so meaningful and so valuable. And today we had a great story in Decanter recognizing not just the wines and the wineries that were mentioned, but actually recognizing the Grenache Association and International Grenache Day for what it is, a truly worldwide great, great day.
That's a perfect segue to the fact that Grenache is so international. It's associated, of course, very much with the south of France. The famous ones, it's the main grape of Châteauneuf-du-Pape, but it's very famous in Spain, where it's originated as Garnacha. But you also find it in Italy. It's known as Canonau. Australia, in most countries, actually, great Grenache is coming out of California, but also other parts of the US. And it is one of the most widely planted grapes in the world. There's 360,000 hectares of it planted and only 120,000 hectares of Cabernet. So actually, most consumers don't understand or necessarily know how popular Grenache is, and they probably wonder how come you don't see more of it around. And actually, a lot of the reason is that it's often blended, and winemakers love working with it because it brings that wonderful umami, that lovely mouthfeel to wines. It has great alcohol, great texture, and it's like adding butter to food. It just makes it yummier. And so that's why the winemakers love it, the trade loves it, but consumers don't always think to order Grenache. And that's one of the reasons the association was created, was to help right that wrong. So 12 years ago when we started, it was the 12th most popular red grape in the world. Already in a few years, it leapfrogged to number 5, and we were shocked to see that we were able to contribute in some small way to helping Grenache earn its place at the table in the sort of Olympus of famous red grapes, as it was often the kind of unsung hero of the wine world.
You're definitely doing your part, Nicole and Andy as well. Nicole, with and now we can say a few words about Chêne Bleu, and how do you see Grenache benefiting from the soil and from the climate you have in Chêne Bleu, which is in Vaucluse in France? And because you make 2 reds, a rosé and a couple of white, but the Grenache is the main component of the 2 reds and the rosé. So how does this work for you?
We have a good chunk of it in our white wine Alio as well. So we do love working with Grenache. I think that's another reason winemakers love it so much. It's so versatile. It comes in so many colors. Of course, there's the red, the white, the gris, you know, and even hairy Grenache, which refers to the hairs on the leaves, not on the grapes. It has so many different styles because it adapts so much to the terroir and to the winemaker. And so for us, it's a fantastic way to lead people from the bottle all the way through to tasting that terroir. And at Chêne Bleu, the characteristic is our altitude. We're so high up at the top of this mountain, about 1,800 feet, which makes it such a high altitude Grenache that you're going to get a very different one than the soft, gentle one of the valley that's a bit transparent, translucent. We're going to have a masculine, muscular Grenache with a lot of concentration and a lot of brawn. It's going to really hold its own. But again, it's getting its concentration from that altitude from the winds and not the sun, because up there we have 21 different kinds of winds that dries out our grapes, gives it that lovely sticky texture without making it hot and heavy and burny on the palate. So that's why we put it at center stage of a lot of our wines. In Abelard, it's 85% on most vintages. In Eloise, it's about 30 because we let the Syrah talk a bit. And then Grenache, as you know, makes most of the top famous rosés of the world. And we have had the good fortune of making a Grenache rosé that has been fantastic as a food rosé, this new generation that you can drink all year with food, not the frosty glass kind. And that's, I think, helping consumers understand the versatility of rosé and not just of Grenache.
So you mentioned that talking about awareness of Grenache in the world, you've mentioned you went from like 12 most celebrated varietal to number 5. So again, congratulations to you, Andy, and everyone pushing the that varietal. How do you think people are drinking Grenache now? How do they approach Grenache?
Grenache in many different ways. Certainly right out of the bottle as a glass of rosé by the pool or with food. Grenache Blanc is certainly being drunk all by itself or blended with Roussanne, Marsanne, Vermentino, Viognier, and other Rhone varietals. But you'll even find people doing Grenache and having things like Tinto de Verona in Madrid or Spain or Barcelona, where they're blending it with lemonade and ice cubes and making something very refreshing with quality wine as opposed to bulk wine that goes into things like sangria most of the times. So a Tinto de Verona is another way to enjoy Grenache on a hot summer day or a hot fall day like we're seeing now throughout the West Coast. But Grenache is being enjoyed by everyone, and they don't necessarily know it. They order Chateauneuf de Pape and don't know that 80% of the varietal in Chateauneuf de Pape must likely be Grenache. And then you've also got Grenache being blended into things like Bandol, where it goes into the wines with the Mourvedre, where it's the other grape in there. You're finding throughout North America, whether it's in Baja California, in the Valle de Guadalupe, down in Texas, in the Hill Country, up in Wilcox, Arizona, in very high altitude, or here in California, or over in Washington State, Grenache is being grown and produced by artisan wine producers who are making great bottles of wine for everybody at all price points. So it's no longer just this mystery grape, and a lot of that credit goes to the entire team at the Grenache Association. I'm happy to be their ambassador here in North America and to do things, but my role, you asked earlier, what do? I try and get winemakers to do more to promote themselves, and we get them to talk more about Grenache and get organizations like the Rhone Rangers involved, and they've been involved for 8 years, 9 years. Same thing with different producers through Paso Robles and the Paso Robles Wine Alliance, Santa Barbara County Vintners Association. All of those producers and associations over the last 8, 9 years have gotten involved because of the pioneering work that Nicole did and Walter McKinley at Domaine de Morchon, our mutual friend Doug Marjoram at the Marjoram Wine Company, people like Bob Lindquist, who was best known for his days at Coupé.
We lost you. So, Andy, we lost you.
Growing grapes.
But I do think one of the big changes that we've seen is Grenache has been coming out of the shadows. You see more and more people making 100% Grenache blends, which really wasn't done before because people were shy about not being able to sell it afterwards if consumers didn't know it or appreciate it. And I think showing the ageability of Grenache, which of course people think of Chateauneuf, but Grenache, if you treat it properly and you respect it and you crop it well, can make wines that have fantastic aging potential. And I think that's an aspect of Grenache that is not as well known as it needs to be.
Grenache wines age for a long, long time, and as evident by the wines which you released, Nicole, which are held back a few years so that the Grenache has had a chance to do it singing in the bottle, as one of our good friends likes to say from Test, Jordan Ogren. He says it's just singing. We're really happy to be able to have winemakers all across North America take part in what is truly a global event on a great day, and we're so thankful that so many winemakers have been able to rally and work their way through the pandemic and are thriving and surviving by selling great grapes of Grenache bottles.
So, and so to celebrate a great day, you need, of course, always to open a bottle of wine. So if you want to put in your comment, like what bottle of Grenache you want to open today, and then Nicole and Andy, tell us like what's your plan for the day. I mean, I know it's still early on our side, Andy in California, and Nicole is probably 9:30 on your side. So what Grenache have you opened today? What's your plan, Andy?
I was going to say ladies first, Nicole. You go first. And
well, we had a wonderful Grenache lunch where everybody on the team brought bottles, and we were comparing things from Australia, from California, a lot of great Grenache locally. But for them, for a lot of people on our team, it's an opportunity to try some of the international Grenaches that they don't have so much access to. And thanks to our friends around the world, we have some really great bottles here. What about you, Andy?
So I've curated a wine bar tasting of Grenache at Ada's Wine Bar at the Tivoli in Las Vegas today, where I'll be along with my business partner, Victoria. As what we're doing with wine is we're doing something called the OGs of Grenache, the original Grenachistas. And OGs has a big term here in the U.S. of original gangster, but we're doing the original Grenachistas, featuring wines from Chêne Bleu, Domaine de Morchon, Bob Lindquist Family Wines, Doug Marjoram, and one other is going to be, because they were all part of launching this Grenache movement here in the U.S. and being part of supporting it around the world with the Grenache Symposium and Grenache Day. So I felt, why not pay homage to the people who got all this started 11 years ago and do some, or 12 years ago, do something really right and recognize those producers, Lindquist, Marjoram, Nicole Rolet and her team at Chêne Bleu, and Walter McKinley and his daughter Kate at Domaine de Morchon. They helped make it possible, so let's give them their moment.
Yeah. And so we're all raising a glass to Stephen Spurrier, because he was the person who encouraged us to host the symposium. He was the one who had the perspective of all the wines in the world to realize that Grenache was this unsung hero that really deserved more love than it was getting, and confirmed our impressions that that was a worthy cause. And he was the person who brought a lot of the people together in the symposium 12 years ago. So for any of you who knew him, I'm sure you miss him as much as we do. And anyone who didn't have a chance to know him, watch Bottle Shock or read some of his amazing books, and especially his biography, because he was a really great man. Cheers.
Cheers.
Thank you, Andy. Thank you, Nicole, for your time and your passion on promoting the Grenache varietal throughout the world. Thank you, everyone, for joining us. Have a great day, and remember, have a great Grenache day,
Thank you, Alban.
as Nicole would always say. Thank you, everyone. Have a good day. Bye.